have been in the Punjab cadre for almost 3 decades now. As a woman officer, I'm sure, there were very few women officers at that time.
If we focus on education and health, then most of the problems of any state get sorted. And especially if we focus better on women's education, then it helps things faster. In times like these, we have to lead from the front. Because अगर हम ही डर जाएंगे, तो फिर मुश्किल हो जाएगा.
Welcome to Policy Talks. I'm Dr. Aarushi Jain, the Policy Director of the Bharti Institute of Public Policy at the Indian School of Business. And I have with me Ms. Gurpreet Sapra. Ms. Sapra is an IAS officer of Punjab cadre. Currently, she is working as Secretary Finance to the Government of Punjab and also the Divisional Commissioner of Jalandhar Division. Welcome to our studios, Gurpreet.
Thank you so much for having me, ma'am. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you here. You have been in the Punjab cadre for almost 3 decades now. And, as a woman officer to join 3 decades ago and, to be in service, I'm sure, there were very few women officers at that time. So truly commendable that, you have been there for such long. But I'm sure there must have been a lot of challenges that you faced during that time. And, there must be a lot of learnings over time. Would you like to share some of this with our guests?
Yes. Certainly, ma'am. When I joined in 1992 as a Punjab Civil Services officer, we were only 3 in our batch. And I remember one of the pictures in the newspapers that in the midst of so many men, 3 of us were sitting in the front row and it made news. Now I am so happy to see so many of us in the systems. I would just like to share one small anecdote about my early years in service. I remember reaching out to one of my seniors asking for a room with an attached washroom. The officer looked at me and with a frown he asked me, "Are you sure you are entitled to one?" So these were the kind of questions which I felt were quite uncomfortable, and now the situation has changed much and I'm happy about that.
We do see very many, young women joining the civil services, women joining the defense forces today, and many, many other places. And that's, I think, the way to go forward.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
So with that positive note, we have been talking about your experiences. You have been at very important positions, like you were the collector, the DC of the Mohali district. You have also had stints in various departments. Can you talk about public policy, and can you talk about how some of your initiatives actually impacted either the implementation or the formulation of public policy?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, in the initial years of service, we are normally implementing the public policies, as you know. But when we reach the level of being a collector, then we are able to implement the policies in a better manner. There have been quite a few initiatives. I am deeply invested in certain issues which relate to girl child and how we as an officer can actually impact lives, no matter what the gender is. I remember reaching out to young nursery school students of a few government schools, and I could get some uniforms designed, sponsored, and delivered to those children in Mohali itself. And I still remember the delight of the young mothers who were there. That is one of the things I would like to mention. Of course, some school books and all, and other small little initiatives which I did. I'm quite proud of it because of course, the results would show later, but I am happy about that. Besides the other small little things that we are expected to do, and we do.
And I think, when we have all been through the pandemic, you were at a very crucial position when the COVID had struck and there were all these issues. One I very closely know about was the migrants who actually had to go back to their respective states, but there were many more of these issues. Would you like to highlight any of these, problems that you tackled as the divisional commissioner, and any of the success stories that you would like to share with our audience?
During the pandemic, I was posted as director of the Social Security and WCD, that is Women and Child Development. I remember reaching to my office on absolutely quiet roads in Chandigarh, and the entire office would be working. So because the intention was that the supplementary nutrition should reach out to the families, and it was a task to actually ensure that the Anganwadi workers and the helpers would actually reach out to each of the families. And I also remember that Mrs. Smriti Irani, the Honorable Minister, had tweeted about the initiatives taken by the Anganwadi workers of Punjab, because they had stitched the masks in huge numbers. And the second thing was that the workers actually reached out to the respective families and used to drop the bags of supplementary nutrition at quite a distance from their gates and their houses, because they would not come to the Anganwadi centers. It was a tough time for each one of us. But then as government servants, we are expected to go the extra mile, because we don't have any other option, and there shouldn't be any.
True. I think crisis management.
Yes, that is what we are trained for, yes.
True. And leadership plays a very important role.
Yes, ma'am. In times like these, we have to lead from the front, because अगर हम ही डर जाएंगे तो फिर मुश्किल हो जाएगा.
True, that's true. So you have seen, Punjab growing, the development. You've seen the agriculture revolution, various, stages, phases of all of that. You've also seen the industry develop in a big way. Of course, there are problems that Punjab faces as a state, and we all are very well acquainted with that. But what do you think, the main challenges that the state faces right now? And there are a lot of positive, stories that are coming out, and the way the state governments across the country, and of course Punjab, are tackling with these issues. And especially things like water scarcity,
yes,
or there are many others that have come up because of some good interventions that were there a few decades ago, but now it needs a change. So would you reflect upon some of this?
Yes, ma'am. Punjab has been resilient whenever it comes to certain issues. There have been some law and order problems, and we have handled them pretty well. Finances, as of now, are struggling, but we are surely going to bounce, because the GST collection is going up and quite a few reforms are already underway. Yes, water scarcity, agriculture issues, health, education, all the priority sectors in the state are being looked into. And in fact, we are trying to do as much as we can, taking into account all the changes that we expect would benefit the people 20 years hence or 25 years hence. Because as you know, ma'am, the social sector issues, they have a very long gestation period. So the impact that we make now will show results in a while. But yes, we are working on it, and diligently so.
So, we have been talking about values and ethics to a great extent. And, as you yourself mentioned that in the Department of Finance, you're taking care and are responsible for policies relating to healthcare and education. I'm coming to education, and my next question is relating to value education. How do you think that can be promoted, specific to the schools in Punjab, and is some initiative going on in that direction?
Yes, ma'am. The Department of School Education, they are working out they're working on it. But I think because of the various training programs, and as you would have read it in the newspapers, that the teachers were sent to Singapore. So when they come back, they actually improve upon their pedagogy. So I think we will be shortly seeing some improvement in the value learning and the ethics part of it.
Right. And I think even in the overall quality.
Yes, it does take some time, but it will happen.
Yeah, and Punjab has been doing very well, in fact, in the last, decade or so. If you see, Punjab's rankings over indices have improved. But it's not about rankings. It's about the change that we see at the grassroots level, the infrastructures that has improved, or the exposure that has been given, as you said. I think all of that has a lot of stake for the future, because this is what is required for the country.
Absolutely, ma'am. And the systems have also understood that if we focus on education and health, then most of the problems of any state get sorted. And especially if we focus better on women's education, then it helps things faster.
Right. One more question that I have for you is, how would you like to guide the younger generation who is today looking at entering the civil services or are looking at career opportunities in the government?
Okay, ma'am, could I answer this in two forms? One is for those of us who are already in service and have a long career ahead of them. This is for them.
Okay.
I would like to just suggest that experience has no shortcut, and they must give due weightage to their subordinates who have experience, because then they might perform even better. And second is that they should be a little more accessible to the general public. Accessibility is what works. We may not be able to solve people's problems in totality, but listening to them like a good doctor does, it works. And secondly, for all the aspirants, it's all about perseverance and smart study. Hard work nahi keh rahi hu, smart study. Start early, deliver better, and then serve the nation. Self-service is not important. Serving the nation is more important.
Right. Thank you so much, Gurpreet, for such an amazing talk.
Thank you, ma'am.
And for your guidance to the younger generation. I'm sure all of them are going to learn from that. Thank you so much for being at the ISB studios today.
The pleasure was all mine, ma'am. Thank you so much for having me.